Glad to have you back on this segment of Engendered, and if you're just joining us, you're right in time because we are just about to start the show actually. And on today's episode of Engendered, we are discussing a particular topic that's Mercy and I. We're not yet inside, we're not wearing the shoes yet. It's bigger than us right now, but we are getting there.
I mean, nevertheless.
So for all those of you asking questions like, oh, you guys are not yet, yes, why are you discussing this topic? We're preparing to be there. We are presenters on the show. We're going to lecture you. We bring professionals to teach you on what you don't know about. And what we're going to be talking about today is this: investing in your marriage. I know so many people feel like marriage is overrated. That's what they feel. That's what they say. That marriage is not worth fighting for. It's a scam. Different mentality and ideology about marriage. But then some people still believe in marriage. Me, please, I still believe in marriage. I'm still going to get married. And I want my marriage to work. We are not perfect. We can't always get it right. But we have to know how our marriage is going to work. And to be doing that with us today, we have a professional, like I rightly said. We have a marriage counselor. She's a therapist. And she's the CEO of the Marriage Heaven. Her name is Adekunle. You're welcome to the show.
You're welcome to the show, ma'am.
You're welcome. So in case you're asking questions like Mercy and Chidinma, you guys are not married. She is married.
Yeah.
She is into that field and she's here to tell us what we don't know about marriage. So we're going to be discussing investing in your marriage on this show today. And please feel free to call in and make your contributions. If you have a problem, a challenge with your marriage, if you have questions to ask, if you have contributions to make, please feel free to call in and make your contributions. So for now, I think everybody understands what marriage is. Yeah. But from you, your own perspective, what do you think marriage is?
I'll say that marriage is that institution that tests everything that you believe about yourself. For a long time, we all live in the island of self. From when we were very young, people encourage you to be independent, to stand on your feet, to do things on your own. And so you learn the art of selfishness. You continue to learn how to be independent. You want to wean yourself away from your marriage, from your parents. But the moment you get married into that institution, then you begin to learn to become selfless. And it begins to test everything that you have always believed in. You know, like I said, you have always groomed yourself to be independent. And now you want to begin to live with another person, and it begins to test you to become more and more selfless, especially when you begin to have children. That is when the greatest test now comes, because all of a sudden, not only are you trying to make another person as important as you, but you are making another person more important than you. And so every single selfish bone in you dies if you are doing it right.
I like that. So if you're saying, oh, you have to be selfless, so that means part of the ways to invest in your marriage is actually being selfless.
Yes. There are so many things that contribute to, making your marriage work. There are so many ways that you can invest in your marriage, and the topic is inexhaustive.
It's broad, yeah.
Very broad, but we are just going to try to talk about a few of them today, because definitely whatever it is that we're talking about can never be exhaustive. And so, yes, directly to your question now, yes, if you want to invest in your marriage, definitely you are learning how to be more selfless and less selfish. Like I said, it's one of the things that you must learn to do, because your marriage is not going anywhere if we are not making sacrifices for each other. Definitely not going anywhere. And I see a lot of people talk about other people's sacrifices with a lot of talk down on other people's sacrifices, as if they are suffering, especially for people that have extremist views about feminism or male ego as well. And you talk about other people's sacrifices. For instance, if a woman decides that, you know what, I want to train my children and I'm not going to be in any active career, people talk about it as though, why? In fact, there was a time somebody was attacking RMD's wife when he was appreciating her for, I guess, their 20th wedding anniversary or something like that. And somebody was attacking her that, why did he allow her to live her own active career? And the lady and even her husband had to say, that was what I chose to do. Sorry, don't comment about that. I chose to do that. We both cannot be in the front of the camera all the time. And so that is what I chose to do. So there would always be something that you are sacrificing. Somebody might need to slow down, even if your career is not, you know, is not going to halt, but might need to slow down. There are so many things. Definitely sacrifice is one of those things that you will do.
And so speaking of feminism and that particular angle where you came from, that someone needs to halt and know that, well, I used to share this view before actually someone changed my mind about laying off work or being a full housewife. I used to feel like being a full housewife meant you're not a serious person, or why would you even be a full housewife, that the world is evolving and then we need to do better as women. I mean, we need to shatter the ceilings, and we need to take up space, glass ceilings, take up space and all of that. Until I met a friend, and then we had a discussion, and I realized that our mom was a full housewife. He hurt her feeling that I actually made mention of, oh, I cannot be a full housewife, and I see full housewives as lazy people. But then in your own opinion, do you think there are other ways not to halt? Because you have to realize that this woman, at the end of the day, they have their dreams, except for, of course, those ones that actually wanted to be full housewives, to say, oh, I want to take a step back and nurture my family. Do you think there are other ways to actually combine? Of course, women are perfect multitaskers.
Well, I think for that, I think at the end of the day, whatever it is that you consider success is personal to you. Everybody's success yardstick is not the same. There are some people, they would have been fully successful, and that is their dream, to ensure that they train their children. Truth is, there is really nothing called multitasking. There is really nothing called balance. We all just try to say that we are going to try to achieve balance between career, and the home front. Truth is, if you have ever worked, and if you're a family person, if you're a married person, you know that there are some things that need to give way. I've seen women now that are beginning to, with a lot of boldness, accept that there is no how I can be there for my children, like the women that decides not to work. They will get to notice things. They will get to, you know, maybe their children goes to school and comes back with a biro that is not their own. They know. Such women will know, but you can't know. The best that you can do is to Skype with your child and find out what the child is doing, and somehow another person is taking that responsibility. But the truth is, nobody should be judged, you know, because of the choices that they are making. Nobody should be judged for that.
Sorry, but what happens when marriage doesn't now go your way? Like, for example, if we've had people come to talk about choosing career or motherhood. I've had a guest say she would choose motherhood if she had to drop her career. There was a story I saw this morning on Instagram of a lady that she was married and she wasn't doing anything, and the marriage wasn't working. She had to leave the marriage. Now, remembering that she wasn't doing anything, she had to start her life like literally afresh. It wasn't easy for her and stuff like that. And people were like, in the first place, why should you drop your career because you're becoming a wife or you're becoming a mother? Is it what is? Where do we draw that line between sacrifice? Or is there a difference between sacrifice and compromise? Because at this point now, some people are saying she sacrificed, some people are saying she compromised. So where do we draw the line between sacrifice and compromise?
Sincerely, like I said, most of these things are very personal to everybody. But I think because even the good book says that the heart of man is very wicked. Who can know it? In fact, it didn't say wicked. It said desperately wicked. I think that whatever you do, you should try to protect yourself. Even if we're going to have, if I want to drop my career, what is that thing that comes to me that makes me comfortable, that I can reach out to my people, like my mom? I don't want to buy personal stuff and always need to ask you for money to do that. I want to buy, I want transport to go out and I will need to wait for you. What is that thing that is coming to me? Because if I am not doing it, let's say for instance, I take the children on home lessons, for instance. If you want to employ an home lesson teacher, you are going to give that person something. no matter how little.
Yeah.
And now that I am taking that stress of the family, what is the need for me? Even though it is not going to be negotiated like salary, but at least what is being accrued to me from whatever it is that is coming, I will not just foolishly leave everything and leave myself exposed. At the end of the day, everybody must learn how to self-protect.
Protect, yeah.
You can't just do things with the sincerity of your heart and expect that everybody will follow suit. You can be sincere and your partner will decide not to be sincere. And things change, seasons change. You don't know what would happen in the future, and so there should be that little angle where you get to protect yourself. So I know that, okay, when you give us this money, this is mine and I don't have to account for it, and whatever it is, I know that I'm building something as well. And the world has actually advanced as well, that you can't, when your children goes to school, what do? Do you sit down there and begin to wash clothes, or what are you doing? So sometimes I think people are also lazy, because there are so many things that you can actually do from home, that you don't need to be very active in a career that is time consuming, but you can do something that is generating something small. At least it preserves your dignity if you don't have to always ask for every penny that you need.
Yeah. Okay, now let's look at this aspect, because I know it's a crucial part of marriage. Let's look at finances and the home. How do you think, or what would be your advice to the married couples on how to handle finances? We've heard people say a lot of, you just mentioned them, you can decide to be sincere and your partner decides not to be sincere. We've heard of people talk about joint accounts, and then in the process where the marriage doesn't work, what I'm talking about marriage doesn't work is that I think even in the olden days, our parents put in more effort for the marriage to work. Though some people will say our parents endured rather than enjoying their marriage, so they could make it. But when our generation, we have the opportunity to opt out, before you know it is over, I'm not doing this again. Nobody wants to put in the effort again. So now it's causing a lot of problem in these days. You hear people talk about things like, I can't continue. I knew of a celebrity that complained that she was the only one taking care of the home. She was the breadwinner. She had to leave because the burden was too much on her. Now, some people open joint accounts and you hear things like the partners are not sincere. One person runs away with the money and stuff like that. Should you make yourself that vulnerable? Is it okay to make yourself that vulnerable? Some partners tell you, we have to discuss how much we earn. We have to know the percentage of our money that goes into feeding, transportation. I had someone that told me once that her partner was telling her that his own money was going to the menial things in the home, while his own salary was going to be used for the major things of the home. Some people have problem with that. So what is the right way to handle finance in the home? For there to be peace, for our children to have a bright future, and for us to move on, remembering that our heart is deep.
It's still wicked, yeah. Because I was going to buttress upon, because I don't know if you follow Diary of I think Diary of a Nigeria girl, yeah. And she puts some stories that would actually make you feel like, if going into marriages these days, you have to be extremely cautious as a woman. There was this story she posted about a woman that went into the marriage, and her husband knew she was a full career woman, and the woman told him straight. Of course, there are some people that actually talk about these things before they get married, to say, oh, what's the long-term thing? The long-term thing is I want to be a full housewife, or the long-term thing is I want to be a career woman, but then at the end of the day, I'll still make time for the family. But in our case, she made sure to mention, I want to be a career woman, but I'll still make time for the children and of course the home at large. But then it got to a long time, and then the husband woke up one morning and he said no, that he wanted a full housewife. And because of that, they went back and forth. I think about 2 years later, the man moved out of the family. And now, let's take this for instance, picking from what Chidinma said. Now imagine if that woman had actually dropped a job
for him.
What would have happened to that family? That is on one side. His own story is, oh, I want her to be a full housewife. Now imagine if it was something as trivial as maybe she was even a full housewife, or she, you know how we humans can be. Like you said, the heart of man is desperately wicked. From the good book. Now imagine if she picked pin or something, or just something random, and then he just left the house at that, and then she was totally jobless. What would have happened? So in this case now, still picking from what Chidinma said, is there actually any policy? There's no policy or even a straight way to do it and say, oh, this is how I want my marriage to be, or this is how I want finances to be, and you don't know your partner's mind at the end of the day. You don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 years or 3 years. What do you think would have actually been better for most of these people?
Okay, well, sincerely, in as much as I agree with the things that you're saying, I also want to put a disclaimer there.
Okay.
I think that a lot of news that we hear, they go fast and viral because it is bad news.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
There are so many other good news. I remember there was a TV station some time ago that was trying to capture only good news. They talk about good things that are happening in Africa and all of that. And the thing did not last. Because if it is not bad, it will not sell. So actually what we mean by news is that bad news. Because bad news has a way of traveling fast and getting people's interest and attention. So why I'm saying that is that I want to put a disclaimer there that we have a lot of good marriages.
Okay.
Very good marriages.
Okay.
But what I think is that a lot of people do not do their homework well before they get into their marriage. I think it starts from the very origin, where you don't, there's a lot of fact finding that you have to do before you get married to someone. This is someone that you are going to pledge your life to, that I want to become one with you in everything. If you are saying that I want to be one with you in spirit, soul, then money is the least of the problems. Because I want to imbibe your spirit, I want to think like you, your people are going to become my people. Those are deep things that you are saying.
Exactly.
And so money is the least of the issues. And I'm not saying that it's not an issue. I'm saying that there are bigger things that you are doing, even by sleeping with the person. There are deeper commitments that you are making to this person. So why should it now be that you are going to make this level of commitment to someone and you are not doing your homework well? You are not finding out who this person really is. You are not asking a lot of questions that will preserve your future.
Sorry to cut you short. In you saying, you're not finding out who this person is, would you agree that people change over time? I mean, I always believe in the change is constant.
Sincerely, I know. But you see, a fruit does not fall too far from the tree. I think that by the time you really actually do your due diligence, you have waded off almost about 70% of the problems.
Okay.
Because you are finding out, see, all those things that our parents used to do, I believe in it. That they will say, go and find out from their family. Is there madness there? Is there this one? Is there are they sickly in their family? Those are things that we all should do. We should not just meet on the street of Abuja. You don't even know what is happening in their home. You don't know what the kind of disposition that this person has. You don't know the kind of orientation this person has. You don't know the kind of perspective to life that this person has. And all of a sudden you are committing, especially if the person, especially for people that meet in church and the person can blow in tongues, you know, and all of a sudden you just believe that this person is the right person. And so there are so many things that go wrong from the point of view of not getting to understand somebody perfectly. And with that, I've not said that people don't change. And with that, I've not said that people don't pretend. Because there are actually people that will come out and pretend so that you get to like them and they now become a monster afterwards. But, you know, there are so many things that other people can see. And sincerely, I believe that before you get married, that is where the most work lies. There are people around you, there are people in your space that will not just like that guy. And they can't tell why they don't like the person. And we need to begin to pay attention to these kind of things. There was a person that I know, this person fought everybody in her space because they cannot see the goodness in this guy. And this guy is so good, this guy. And everybody's, when you just see them, you just know that something is not right. Something is off here. And all of a sudden, you started picking enemies with everybody, not knowing that it was even a careful plan of the guy to make sure that he isolates her from everybody that loves her so that he can deal with her in due season. You know, but things like this, it happens over and over and people don't learn. You need to take time to study whoever it is that you want to be with so that things, because there are things that you don't even get to discuss. Like for instance, and one of the things that I recommend usually is that don't pay attention to the way this person treats you. Pay attention to the way he treats other people.
Other people,
yeah.
And especially the seemingly unimportant people. People that seem unimportant. Gate men, taxi drivers, waiters. Just pay attention to the way this person treats this kind of people. And that's where you can know someone's heart, especially their parents. Someone that's already telling you that, I don't talk to my mom, I don't, I love you too much, don't talk to my mom, don't talk to my sister. That's a red flag. That's trouble in the making. And yet you believe that, yes, this person loves me, because of me, he can drop the whole world.
There's that word people always say, do not date a nice person, date a kind person.
Truth.
Because this thing you said,
is it kind or compassionate person?
I feel like it should be
kind, compassionate, whatever the
someone that has empathy, basically.
Because at the end of the day, you will need this person to show you grace when you misbehave. And there is no one of us that is perfect. So there would always be need for forgiveness. And there would always be need for accommodation, to accommodate my excesses, and I will accommodate your excesses as well.
Okay, before we go into yours, let me just take from our book. You said orientation to life, and then would I agree with that? We've had people that probably grew up in a shitty, allow me to use that word, shitty family, where probably both parents are not together, but at the end of the day, the marriage they get into work well. But then if you are going to say orientation to life, and then you're picking from the book of the kind of family they grew up in, is that not going to affect them in a way by judging from the kind of type of family these persons are from?
Okay, let me give you a very practical example. When it comes to determining who someone is and what their tendencies and predispositions are, you have someone that has gone through a particular pain, and the person is conscious about that pain, and the person is trying hard not to replicate that pain, is different from the person that is just complaining and looking for sympathy. For instance, if anything touches your emotion, and I'm talking from a psychological point of view now, whatever you suffer that touches your emotions to the point that you make up your mind that this thing is not going to happen again, truly it will not happen again. Because it's, let's say for instance, you were chased out of school and you were embarrassed, and the teacher said, go home, you have not paid your school fees, and you wept, and you tell yourself that whatever it takes, if I have children, they will never face this. It's likely that it doesn't happen. Unlike somebody that is telling the whole world, there was a time I didn't go to school, they just chase us. That thing, it will happen and happen and happen again. You know why? Because that's the only script that you have been given. That's the only exposure that you have to life. That is the only experience you know. And so their ways, you will imbibe their ways, and somehow you will end up being that kind of parents too that cannot afford school fees. So if somebody grows up in a shitty environment, like you said, there's a tendency that that person understands shit. And the person will reproduce shit. And so if you are going to be with that person and the person is already condoning certain things, this person is like this, you cannot tell why the person is like that. You already know that this person does not have that thing, that is everything within the person is not saying no to that thing.
And the person should be able to fight back.
And somehow you discover that we are all wired to reproduce what we have seen. We all reproduce what we have seen. That is the only, and that is simply because that's the only script you have. If you are in the family of people that are very big, there's a way you people eat, and that's how eating, that is the, you know, the script in your head about eating is eat something that is this big. And all of you become big, and everybody says that I don't know why we are all big. But that's the way you eat, is that. But if you remove somebody from that setting, put the person in another setting, and the person sees how disciplined other people are with food, then the person will begin to imbibe something new, and the person might change. But for somebody that has not done that before, the person is likely to reproduce that thing. And so be wary of people that grow up in a particular kind of environment and they don't have a strong emotional detachment from that place, saying that I don't like this life. I've seen people whose father have 2 wives, 3 wives and other girlfriends, and they will tell themselves that I don't like it, I suffered. But it's just
mere words.
And in their secondary school, they already have 3 girlfriends. And you're wondering, you. And there's some of them that look serious. I've seen one of my friends. I've seen this. That's the same thing. He didn't want to have polygamy, but somehow he ended up having a child out of wedlock. Those things just replicate themselves. It looks like a power that continues to push you until you reproduce that thing.
It actually begs the question: is even making conscious effort enough?
But it is no. Sometimes it will be enough.
Okay.
Because everything in you is rebelling against that thing. And so you cannot just judge people. That's what I'm trying to say in essence is that you cannot say, oh, this person is from a broken home, her home will break.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't just say that.
You can't do that.
But you need to examine the person, evaluate the person. How does the person think? Where is the person's head at? And what are the other exposures that you have had? Is it that this person, anytime there's a training or a seminar around such things, the person is always going, exposing yourself to another kind of life that you didn't have before. And so somehow you are beginning to build new, paradigm in your head so that you are able to produce something different from where you're coming from. But if not, definitely you will replicate the same thing.
Okay, you spoke about grace now. And that there should be room for accommodating things. I know the good book says we should keep forgiving and forgiving. But I would like to ask this question because there are people that are going through this. Is there a limit to which you can forgive your partner? What is that level to which your partner commits an offense? And you say, oh, you know what? Sometimes they tell you that when you're able to get yourself out of a particular pattern, it's like self-respect. You're not bringing yourself down. Now, what is that level? Because you hear stories of, for example, let me give an example. When I was growing up in primary school, in my environment, my mom's friend, already she had, I think, 6 children for her husband. And the husband kept having multiple girlfriends outside. He can't provide for the children at home. And he's having children outside the home. And whenever it happens, he comes back home and begs, I'm sorry. Though the children are outside, she will forgive him. He comes back, and at the point, it was looking like she was being foolish. Should I keep accommodating this man?
Pattern.
Now, if I leave, how am I going to survive with my children? Some people encouraged her to leave. Some people told her to stay. She should not worry. She should just calm down and forgive her partner. Where does that grace stop?
Okay, I think that's a very, very interesting question, especially, okay, I don't want to say this now. Let me just say what I want to say. Okay. I think that there is a difference between people facing the consequence of their action and punishing someone for the wrong that they have done. There is a difference. If I do something and as a natural consequence of whatever I have done, I'm supposed to face a particular kind of music, I think a lot of people don't let their spouses face the natural consequence of their action. They jump in to save the day.
Okay.
In which case you are encouraging foolishness in your partner. Your partner will never get to the place where they grow. And your partner will never get to the place where they become accountable. So for instance, I gave you money. You want to start a business and I gave you ₦1 million. And you told me that you want to use this ₦1 million for your business. And all of a sudden, month 1, you have not started the business. Month 2, and I'm asking you, so how much is the money remaining now? Then I ask you after 4 months, you say, it's remaining like 450. That kind of a person, even when the person now really is serious about business, you might need to work to make up the money. The gift that I want to give you, I've given you. And you are not going to make it look like I'm punishing you. Even when it comes to training children, there are times that a lot of us jump in as though we are punishing somebody that is facing the natural consequence of their action. So you don't do this, and this is the natural result. Let them go through it. Stop jumping in to save the days. And a lot of women fall into that category where they are always trying to save the day, where they always think that they are helping their partner by bending backwards, and in which case they are encouraging immaturity. for someone that does not pay fees, for someone that does not pay rent, for someone that does not pay light bills. You continue to, so you want to go out, we come and take transport. You know, all those kind of things.
But they think they're supporting their partner.
You are not, and that's what I'm saying. You would continue to encourage immaturity in them, and they will never grow. So this person needs to begin to think like an adult and act like one as well. And you need to encourage them, not by providing everything that they need, but by making them know that these things are not cheap. Not by standing on their head and talking down on them and being condescending. No, that's not what I'm saying. But just removing yourself from the equation. If somebody does not have money, person does not eat. You understand? Little things like that. If we don't pay our children's school fees, they chase them away and chase them back home. It's our shame. It's not my shame alone. So why should you go and quickly save the day? Let me quickly go and pay. A lot of women will quickly go and pay. Let me go and pay so that I will not be embarrassed. No, it's not your embarrassment. It's our family.
But if they don't pay the school fees, they send their children out of school.
Yeah, and so the man now knows that there's a consequence, and he now begins to think more. It's like having children that you want them to mature, and you continue doing everything for them. They will never get to the place where they begin to take responsibility for themselves. You want your children to mature, you help them to solve their homework, you help them to, you give them money for this, you give them, when exactly would they begin to use their brains?
Okay, then now we can definitely say that, meaning some spouse actually blackmail their partners emotionally.
Yes, that's blackmail.
Because you hear things like, for example, your practical example now, it's some people were actually doing that, and the next thing they start getting from your partner is, when I was going through this, you were not there for me, you were not with me, you didn't help me. That's what some people start getting, but they don't understand the fact that you want them to grow at a point in time. So some women now decide to step, or some men or women now decide to step in and be the supportive partner.
Savior. No, it's not supporting savior, it's a savior. That's savior complex. I think that, like I said, the difference in encouraging someone to grow up and thinking or taking ownership of that process and making it look like a punishment is that what a lot of people now do is that you see your life now, ordinary this thing you cannot pay, how you go and pay, those, now you are becoming condescending.
Okay.
But if you continue to say, God will provide for you, don't worry, just go out there, God will provide for you, anything you can do, that is different. You are not taking responsibility, and yet you are not condescending, and you are not making it a punishment. That now you see yourself, all those things are now the things that make it a punishment for bad. This person has badly behaved. The only thing you can do is encourage. Okay. Like some women even start way before, way early in marriage. Maybe you are earning a lot more, and this guy wants to give you the little money he has to support you for upkeep in the house or something, and it gives you, let's say it gives you 5,000, and you're like, keep your money, what will 5,000 do? No, that's not how to go about it. Collect it. Thank you very much. This you that you give me this 5,000, God will bless you, give me 5 million one day. That's sending a message. Unlike telling the person, keep your money, don't worry. Some women will tell their guys, don't worry, I'll take care of the wedding.
The independent woman, as
yes, you don't worry, I'll take care of everything. And what you're telling the guy is that you're not good enough.
Really?
And when it gets to a point where he now becomes shy to even mention anything that he wants to do, because if it begins to feel small in your presence, but when you take the small thing that he's doing and you magnify it, it lives up to that responsibility. And I think that is what a lot of women do wrong in the first place. Encourage your man to be responsible, no matter how little he's bringing to the table. Encourage him that you can do more. Encourage him with your kind words. Don't punish him for the things that he doesn't have. If he doesn't have, let's say for instance, there's a misfortune that happened to him, that's not when you talk down on him. But it is still a time for you to still encourage that. Don't rest. Stylishly just say, don't rest. You have not gotten to the point of rest yet. God is with you, and you can do a lot more with yourself.
As we round up, there is a term that people always use. They say, some people say, I don't want to fight for my marriage. I've fought enough. I'm giving up. Or some people say, I want to fight for my marriage. Now, that term, fighting for your marriage, is marriage worth fighting for? And in what context should we actually fight for our marriage?
And let me add to that. When do you know when to draw the line and say, oh, I've had enough?
At this point, I've done it.
Okay, for me,
because sorry, in fighting for your marriage now, there is now that line of, if I don't fight, it might lead to separation, which is divorce. And if I fight, we might stay, but we might not be happy, but we'll just manage ourselves, that kind of thing.
Okay, I think happiness is overrated in this generation. It is very, very overrated. Everything we are doing is spurred by how happy I am. I'll ask myself every time, am I happy? Am I happy? And that's why a lot of, even though we have a lot of things at our disposal, a lot of people are still falling into depression. That's what I do. And I can attest to that, that a lot of people, we are treating people every time for depression. Even though you still have more at your disposal. I think when it comes to marriage, there's a lot of assignments that you have to do in marriage that sometimes you become selfless. There is a generation that you are building. Have you heeded the call? There are things that need to stop in your generation. There are things that need to stop in your lineage. And you being the matriarch, if you see yourself that way, what is going to be my contribution? There are problems in every family that we have identified. Some people, it is poverty. Some people, it is a spirit of never doing well. Some people, it is stagnation. Some people, there are so many shades, and this is Africa. The list goes on and on. And so what is that assignment that you want to achieve with your marriage? That it is not just about feeling your temperature every day. How happy am I? How happy am I? You know, and so marriage will always be worth fighting for. Especially when two people are in it, to ensure that this works and we give our future generation a better platform. That is what we were given. No matter how stupid we think our parents were, they gave us something that is adding to our ego today. They gave us something. I don't know how many of us, some of us, we are 3-4 generations that are out of the village. Somebody was the first person that tried to go to the city to make things work. And that person didn't mind losing the close relationship of all the people at home to go and make that headway. And now some of us, we just talk about money as though it's easy. But 3-4 generations away, they were not exposed to that kind of money. You understand what I'm saying? So what are you willing to do for your lineage? What are you willing to start? What are you willing to end? That has been flowing from generation to generation. That's a bigger picture. And when you think like that, there are so many things that you can start and stop in your family that needs you more than, you know, am I happy all the time? Am I happy? But the problem always lies in the fact that are the two people in the marriage ready?
Ready to fight. It's a joint effort.
Yes.
Because it has to be a joint effort. Because it has to be something that we both want. It has to be a vision that we both believe in. And there are people that they don't even still mind if they want to just do whatever it is that they want to do, that they have envisioned that they want to do. But when your partner now, for me, one of the things that for a lot of people that come in for therapy, one of the things that I also find very disheartening is when your partner begins to negotiate your dignity as a human being. It's really tough. If you are in that space, you know that no matter how hard you try, you might want to just let go. Because when your human dignity does not matter anymore, where your partner will come in with another woman and you are there, and the person will tell you, get out of our room, I have a girlfriend, can't you see I have a guest? You know, those things are trampling on your human dignity. As a human being, there's a level of dignity that you deserve.
Yeah.
And if people begin to negotiate that with you, sincerely, it will be tough. Would people decide to stay? I don't know if they can cope. But I think that by the time your dignity is being negotiated, maybe it's time to let go.
You see, at this point where you drop that, maybe it's time to let go. You answered the question I was about to ask you, that is it okay to let go? Because we hear some people say that sometimes they go for therapy or they go for counseling and the therapist never encourages them to leave. Maybe they're at the point where they have to, she's saying, I'm done with it, I can't continue. They're still encouraging them to go back and fight for their marriage. Some people have had that experience. And like there was a particular lady at some years ago, at my mom's working place. She kept going for therapy, saying that she was tired. I think it was a case of domestic violence and stuff like that. And they told her to continue, that she should just keep fighting most of her children, that she has to keep praying. And she kept praying until she died. In that particular type of situation now. So who are we going to blame in that situation? Is it the therapist or what? Because we hear or we see that sometimes some people are scared to tell you, this is the time to divorce. Is divorce actually advisable? Can you encourage someone that comes for therapy to divorce?
I think that sometimes we have a lot of untrained people in the field.
Okay.
And so what they're trying to do is to make sure two people stay together irrespective. For me, the way that I have been trained to go about things is to see if we could help you to negotiate something better. Any therapist, anybody that is working with you that does not prioritize your growth, you should be growing individually and you should be growing as a couple. Anybody that is not prioritizing your growth is most likely a scam. Because you can't become a better person if you can't have a better relationship if you're not a better person. Okay. And so therapy should encourage you to grow as a person, as an individual, and also encourage you to put the work that is required in. And so there are cases where you have two willing parties that are willing to grow and are also willing to work on their relationship. There are times that you have situations where somebody is mentally strong enough because whatever the issues that the person is facing, the person is mentally strong enough to handle it. You have someone that is subtly abusive, you know, and you know that all your plans, all your strategy, this is it, I'm seeing it, and it doesn't affect you. You are strong enough to manage it. Then you can stay. If you choose to be there, you can stay because those things are not affecting you. But if you are in a place where you are constantly being battered emotionally, physically, and psychologically, and you are caving in and you are breaking down, then it's not doing anything to you again. It has become toxic for even you. And so a lot of considerations that people have eventually is because they're not thinking deep. Some people say, I'm doing it for my children. But what you don't know is that you are training them to also submit to abuse in the future. Because you are training them in a particular kind of way. Because eventually they will use your experience. They will use the script that you have given them to build their own lives. I don't know how many times I've come across children that are actively looking for abusers. And when they see good people, something in their brain does not click.
Exactly.
Because they just feel like because there was a particular lady that came to me and was like, she got a very good guy that was always at her beck and call and always wanted to consult her for any decision they wanted to make. And for her, she just kept saying it, this one is too, she just kept doing her hand like that. This one is too,
calls that too much probably.
And I said, okay, what exactly? This one is too me. This one is too, okay, what exactly is this guy doing? Say, is he not a man? Is he not a man? Any small thing, he'll be asking you, what do you think? What do you think? You're a man, take charge. And I'm like, this is what a lot of women will kill for.
Yeah.
But by the time you probe further, you saw that I discovered that she had a very abusive father, that his word was law. And so she's used to it. So now she's actively looking for another abuser because that is what she has learned, that somebody will shout you down. Can't even beat somebody once in a while. You know, so and that is,
it happens.
This is what I say.
It happens.
I said, beat her once in a while, like,
you know,
that's a form of correction.
Somebody else is actively looking for somebody like that, and they will not rest because when we say we are in love or we are looking for someone to fall in love with, what we are actually saying is that we are looking for the familiar. We are looking for something that we have seen before.
Exactly.
And so people would, and so if you are staying in an abusive environment because of the children, it's wrong, because you are also creating another catastrophe in the future
for the children.
So you need to evaluate. So like I said, we have a lot of untrained people in the field, and what they do is they don't try to grow you up, they don't try to grow your partner, they don't try to give you skills to work with to make your marriage a better one. All they are interested in is that please don't divorced.
Don't-
Just stay together.
no matter
Just
what
stay
happens.
together. And they are not, the person is still beating you, just stay together. The person is not growing. The person is not willing to grow. You know, so how do you reconcile that?
Okay, thank you very much for this. You know, like we earlier said, this particular topic is broad, and I think it's something that we can continue on another episode. Maybe we'll call you again to come so that we can continue, because I cannot, we cannot finish, or we cannot exhaust everything we want to talk about just today. So thank you so much for an insightful session. I felt like I was in therapy.
Exactly.
Yes,
No,
exactly.
the thing about us is when you see that we're quiet, just know that's okay.
It's sinking.
It's sinking.
That's what we
People
talk
are
about.
going back.
Exactly. So thank you
very
so
much,
much. It's been an interesting
Thank you for
session.
having me.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Okay,
you.
for the viewers at home, at this point, what I actually learned from this as a person that just came out of therapy, I just understood that I need to grow as a person. Despite the fact that you're in the marriage together, give room for each other, for yourselves to grow. You have to give, like when she just kept on talking about where you always jump in as the savior. That one, it hits me because most of the time we feel like we're helping them, we're supporting them. Oh, babe, like there are some ladies that feel like a man must always provide for them. It's okay for a man to provide for you, like she rightly said. It is not bad for him to provide for you, but you also have to do something. And the men too, you have to give the lady the opportunity to grow. There was a celebrity that posted something on social media and he said, men, grow your women because you will definitely need them. There will be a point in time, either you are not there, you will need your partner. Exactly. And then you are not there, either you are dead or you are somewhere else.
And you notice that with women, you give them one thing, they multiply
And they
that
reproduce.
one thing, that one
That
thing.
is the
So
way
you
it is.
growing your woman, there's a word, grow a girl, or is it feed a girl, or send a girl to school and you realize that you're sending the community to school.
Yeah,
at the end of the
exactly.
day.
So there'll be a point where maybe you might not be available. Before we move to that, you might not be there. Your wife needs to represent you.
Yeah.
Can she stand in for you properly? When you die, can she like take charge of everything? You know, this example happened to me personally when I lost my dad and my mom had to take care of it. I'm like, I did not know you had this power in you. So if maybe during the time when he was alive, if she was not being groomed or if he was not giving her a venue to grow, she would be shattered right now. She would not know how to handle the home when he's not there. So please, for the lady, give your man the room to grow. For the man, give your woman the room to grow. It's better for two of you. And I promise you, you will enjoy yourselves when you guys are better individuals than when you guys are together. Do well to join us for another interesting episode on Engendered on Thursday by 5 p.m. I remain Chidinma Ufomadu.
And I am Mercy Babajide, and today I'll leave us with date a kind person, not a nice person.
And compassionate, please. That's please.
See you on Thursday. Bye.
Bye.